All right, welcome back to the Real Estate Huddle. This is episode 40, and it is a treat today. We've got a couple of guests here today that we're excited to have. And one is Greg Manzanares, our lending partner, who we know and love, and we've had a great relationship with for years, who's taken really good care of us personally and clients of ours. So grateful to have you, Greg. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and then we've got Keith Gallegos, who is a friend of ours that really has been incredible in the building industry. Built over 150 homes here in the Denver metro area, and just is helping us with supply, right, to provide a place for people to live and some great options. And so he's with Denver Construction Management, DCM, and so Keith, we're super excited to have you as well. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll kick it off today. The topic today is going to be talking about Keith's product, what you've got going on as far as these new builds go, because they're really unique compared to just your standard Shea, Richmond, Oakwood type of home. I mean, these are not that, right? They're pretty cool. And do you want to give us a little idea of what types of homes you're building, and kind of we can talk about the target market that's fitting right now?
Sure. The idea of the homes that we're building is really a mindset, a new way of buying your primary residence, and it's an avenue that I believe you can create wealth and generational wealth. There have been more millionaires created in real estate than any other industry. What I like about that statement is it's inclusive. You don't need a degree. You don't need to be anything special. You don't need to have special skills. It's real estate. And most people need to find somewhere to live. Shelter we all need shelter. So, real estate is really the avenue that I've chosen to be able to help people find that path.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we've been in an inventory shortage, right, for the last really 12 years, since we came out of the recession. And so we've been in, at some points, inventory crisis,
Right.
And now we're getting a little closer back to balance, but there's still, about 9,900 homes is what we checked today on the market here in Denver Metro. And economists say 12,000 is balanced, for our market for the 7-county area. And so we still have this need, right? And more demand than we have supply for. So you're doing a huge service to the market by providing that supply, and you're doing it in some killer locations. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the locations that you're building,
Sure.
And then we'll get more into the specs of the product itself too.
You betcha. Yeah, inventory is the drum that we're beating. There's just not enough of it. And Denver, I'm a native of Denver, grew up in Denver.
Yeah.
So it's my hometown.
Nice.
And I love being able to leave fingerprints throughout the city. And knowing Denver, basically, give me a street, give me a cross street, I can tell you the neighborhood. And so we've specifically looked at certain neighborhoods that would drive our product. And some of these neighborhoods you'll probably recognize. Denver DU, near DU. So that's the Observatory Park neighborhood.
Nice. Actually looking at DU, right?
Right.
Like you can see it from the units.
Right.
Very cool.
Cherry Creek is another area that we're building this product type. RiNo in the RiNo district is another area that we're building this product type. And then City Park West, which is near Uptown, and then City Park North in the neighborhood would be Whittier, which is right there to RiNo, catty corner to RiNo.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for those of you that are outside of Denver or the state, maybe across the country listening to this going like, are those good areas? Yeah, tell us about the areas, guys. Like those are awesome, right? Like very desirable locations. You want to input?
Well, I saw the DU ones just a couple of days ago, and those are incredible. Great location, like you said, steps away from the DU lawn, which is beautiful anyway. Blocks away from university. It's an incredible location to build. I think it's going to do really, really well. And the way that you've built these kind of homes, it's going to be really good for students, investment properties, all that. So I loved it. I thought it was very clean, modern. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and that's the area I saw so far. So,
Yeah, and I also saw the DU properties, and they are not only a great build quality, but just the location is awesome. So you're within walking distance, a great number of restaurants. You're just literally a step away from the DU campus. So any type of, growing up in Minnesota, it's hard to say DU hockey, but it's a little bit tough. But they got a great thing. So and that's a great event that they put on. So they've got a great team. So the lacrosse team's really high rated as well. So anyone coming into town, that would be a great opportunity. So I think the location is just killer.
Lacrosse. That was all about hockey.
Hockey.
That's what 3 out of 4, right? Like Frozen Fours, and I mean they're incredible. So we got a guy that knows something about that. The Zamboni man for the Colorado Avalanche, right here.
I don't think we've hit it yet, but go into kind of what you talked to me about, where you kind of look back at life and said, if I was buying my first home, what would I buy, and just kind of how you went into the design side of things. I don't think we've really hit on why you've designed the homes like you have, and what that's. Gosh, I really think you're thinking in the future.
Yeah.
I think this is a buying pattern that's coming,
Right.
Especially in the areas that you're talking about, because there's nowhere to build, right?
Right.
So.
Right. Denver is landlocked, so we can't grow out. We can only grow up. And 25 years ago, Denver came out with Blueprint Denver, and basically their plan to create density. And I mean, go backwards 10 years of what Denver was like 10 years ago, and it's changing rapidly. But for myself, thinking about buying a house today, and if I could, go back to my younger self and say, hey, Keith, you should buy a duplex. You should buy a duplex, live in half, or rent the other half. I promise you, you will be happy. You will be glad in 10 years. And how quick does 10 years go, right? I mean, it's super fast. You'll begin to create wealth and generational wealth if you did this. Well, I missed it. I didn't do it. I went for the house with the white picket fence and the big backyard and the chance to, play Frisbee back there, and didn't have the mindset to think of it as a primary investment vehicle. And so fast forward and kind of mixed with what Denver has done with the zoning, it's just the price of property, the price of land has become really expensive. And so we just got to thinking about how could we make this either more affordable, make it so that people can help. There's this whole multi-generational thing that's going on that spreads across 3 generations. If you haven't been a part of it, it's coming. Yeah. Your parents are getting older, or your kids need to help out. They need help with getting started. And so there's like this 3-generation swing of living within a primary residence. So that's one opportunity, but then just the investment opportunity, where the ones at High Street live like a duplex, where you can buy the duplex, live in the main unit, and then there's a lock-off opportunity to rent out the basement with a full kitchenette. Generate $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a month, depending on location, and now you take that and apply it to your principal of your mortgage. You're knocking 10, 12 years off of your mortgage. Take that, apply it towards a investment vehicle like a 401k. Yeah. Over 10 years at 6%, probably $250,000 in savings. And so the idea was born on one, the affordability, but also the opportunity to treat your primary residence as an investment vehicle, sacrifice 10 years of living, and it'll be a different world for you 10 years from now. Yeah.
I think you got to add a couple more things to that, which you're hitting on the items you hit on, but we didn't hit on appreciation.
That's what I was going to talk about
right.
too. Yeah.
We
that location especially, I mean, being that close to DU, that close to Denver, that close to Cherry Creek, or Cherry Hills, that's kind of the heart of Colorado at this point, is right in that location. So when we're talking about location, the appreciation is going to be appreciation. Right.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's going to be pretty nice in the long run as an investment standpoint goes for the finance side. But Yeah, those units have some amazing potential that I don't think people really understand unless they're talking to the professionals. So,
Yep.
Right.
Well, and
Steady as a tortoise on these.
yeah.
I mean, just steady, let it do what it does, right?
Yeah.
You got the process that Keith talked about. You got the appreciation process. You know, we're not talking about the tax deduction side of this. I mean, there's a lot of capital involved in all this, and if the mindset is steady as the turtle,
yeah,
as you're buying, and just let it happen,
yeah,
right? Just let it happen. I think we always talk about Landon, talking to the people who 10 years ago bought a property, and going back to them and asking them if they're sorry they did that.
yeah. Got any regrets?
Yeah, do you have any regrets?
Nope.
Right. You should have done that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, especially in this market.
Right.
Right.
In this market, people who bought 10 years ago did really, really well.
Yeah.
Best time to plant a tree?
10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Best
Exactly.
time to plant a tree. You know, second best time?
No
Today.
question. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you think about the different types of people that might be interested in these properties, right? And we'll talk about floor plans because I think once we get in the floor plans, people will understand better why you were talking about multi-generational family. It's like the perfect setup, right? If you have that sort of thing going on. But then from an investor standpoint, there's a lot of different prototypes. If you're that person though that like you were talking about, right? If you, going back to your younger days, like if you wish you were that person, that's probably like we're looking for that person in their 20s, early 30s that you can do more things then before maybe you have kids or before life gets more complicated than you can later on in your 40s, 50s, 60s, right? And so especially when you're single and everything's up to you, there's no other decision maker, or you're a couple that's like kind of in their early stages, and so I think that's really, if you have good income as a young professional, like this is definitely something you should be considering. If you're a single person with great income, this is definitely something you should consider. And we'll get right into the floor plans. But Greg, do you want to touch on just if you are, let's say, because these are multi-unit properties, that's what makes them so interesting, right? So intriguing as far as having like dual entrances, and that you can use. And so like, for example, the 2-unit that you have by DU, right? How would having a renter in there, how would that help your qualifications, right? So like, say I'm a buyer that qualifies for $600,000, if I put someone in there as a renter in the bigger unit, right, where that's quite a bit of income added to my profile, approximately, what's the potential of what that could do for a buyer?
So those properties, the way they're constructed right now, those are going to be financed as a single family. So we're not going to be able to give any rental income
Oh, gotcha.
during the application process.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Good to know.
what you want to think about that, and we're using hypothetical numbers here, is that if you are the buyer there, and if it is your primary residence, and you have areas to rent, right? Let's say your mortgage on that is $5,000, but you can pick up $1,200 to $1,500 per the bedrooms and the space that are available. If you can do that with some of the opportunities living around the college, right? You're in a sense taking that $5,000 monthly payment down to $2,000, right? So
Just
you put
cutting down
yourself in a
costs.
position that now becomes a really affordable process for you. But when we get to talking about some of the other properties that Keith has in regards to multiple spaces for rent,
That can be applied.
yeah,
Okay.
then we can apply the fact that we can get rental income from that. That's going to take us into a different type of financing that we'll talk more about when we get there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds good. And then what you were saying, Keith, is apply, if you say you qualify for the whole thing, right? But then you apply that portion that you're renting out towards your principal. That's how you can cut that mortgage down so substantially.
Right.
So that's
Right.
huge. Cool. All right, let's talk floor plans. Let's talk about what these are all about. And do you want to explain the kind of the build out of maybe the DU ones first, and then we can
Sure.
talk about the other ones as well?
Yeah, so these are basically, they were originally a single family home on a 50-foot wide lot. And then we took the 50-foot wide lots, split it in half, did a zone lot amendment, created two 25-foot wide lots. And then we designed what we call our yin yang duplex series. It's front and back. So you have it's a duplex that's on a 25-foot wide lot. You have the front unit is one unit, and then attached to it in the rear is the second unit. So when you go into the front unit or the back unit, the main floor is going to be your kitchen, your living room, where you're going to put maybe a dining room table. It's maybe kind of small, but you could get seating in there. That's the main living, and then you go up to the second floor, and that's going to be the master ensuite. So there's a master bedroom there. There's a door that you can lock if you're getting into a situation where you have multiple renters. And then the laundry room lives outside the master, just right outside the master, so that people can share that. You go up to the third floor, and there's another bedroom up there that has a deck off to the side a little bit, and then living room space. So you could set up a living room. We also put a wet bar, kitchenette. Some of the things that we try to do is dedicate all the outlets around the wet bar, both upstairs and in the basement, so that you can plug in a hot plate or some of these different appliances to allow you to cook and not trip a breaker, because that's frustrating, right? Go all the way down and have to trip the breaker back. So that's the main living. That's above floor living.
Cool.
The basement has a side door access. So you come in from the side of the duplex and you go straight downstairs. And that takes you at another 1 bedroom, full bath, your own laundry, stackable laundry down there, and a kitchenette as well. Same thing, the outlets are all dedicated, and full size refrigerator down there, dishwasher, so you could essentially live down in the basement.
Got it. Cool. That's awesome. And then, lots of different configurations, right? You could have up to 6 students in there, perhaps, is what you're saying?
If you got the double duplex, there's basically 3 ensuites per unit.
Yeah.
So 3 floors dedicated to just one person living. And then if you got both front and back duplex, you could have 6 ensuites.
Got it. Sweet. And then price point on those that we're looking at is that?
So the rear units, we have 3 of 12 left. So that was our phase 1.
Yep.
And we're marketing those $830 for the back for the rear unit and $870 for the front.
Okay.
The $870, the front unit's a little different because when we excavated and did the foundation, we went out beyond the foundation wall and went under the porch an extra 8-9 feet. So it just created more square footage in the basement for the front unit.
Okay. Awesome.
And you get the yard in the front unit as well.
Yeah, that's great.
And it has a little gate, so
Let your dog out.
yeah, I can put your dog out there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Now, as far as maybe a little finer detail, so what style of countertops are we using? What are the appliances like as far as brand and material goes? What any specifics you can give us on that?
Yeah, so we kept in mind the area, and basically built to the area that the area is surrounded by multi-million-dollar homes.
Yeah,
Really, if you drive 2 blocks any direction, you're going to be right in the middle of, like you said, heart of Denver.
Yeah.
But we used LVP, a couple different ways to say the flooring. So it's pre-engineered. It's long lasting. The stairs all have that too, where you get a lot of treads, a lot of traffic. So we did that on each floor. The bedrooms do have carpet. And then we used higher end cabinets with no finger pulls, basically.
Okay, yeah.
So it's real clean look, quartz countertops, KitchenAid appliances.
Are those like stainless steel? Are they the slate look? Are they
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel. Awesome.
Yep.
KitchenAid. Love that.
Cool. Do you want to get into your other units?
Real quick,
Go
back
ahead.
up. You got another phase that you're building out over at DU.
Right.
Talk about those because they're a little bit different.
They
right?
are. So phase 2 is we're in foundation right now. Start framing here probably in the next few weeks. Delivering in Q1 of 2025. And those are the same idea, the yin yang duplex, front and back. And what we did differently there is so on the 25-foot wide lot, you have a 3-foot setback from the property line. On the phase 1, we shifted the front unit to the right and the back unit to the left. so you had a walkway. On phase 2, both front and back go to that 3-foot maximum, which makes a wider unit, which basically gave us the opportunity to add a 4th bedroom, on the 2nd floor is 2 bedrooms, and on the 3rd floor is your master suite.
Nice.
With a decent deck up there.
Cool.
So we just flipped it a little bit, and this is our 4th version of the yin yang, and we've tried different. You only have so much room in a 15-foot wide townhome. Where to put the stairs? Front, back. Do you go straight? Do you do a U shape? And so we've tried different versions, and I think now in our 3rd and our 4th version is probably the ones we would do over and over and over again.
Nice. Cool. That's awesome. And then the city park ones that are coming up, those are pretty much at ground level right now.
Right.
Dirt starts. You've got how many units up there, and what would the floor plan, how would it differ compared to what we've got going on at DU? Sure.
This is a single family. It's west of City Park, north of City Park. And it's going to be 3,700 square feet basically for the house, which the house is going to have five bedrooms, 4.5 bath. You have an office. We have 3 designs there that we're just going to multiply or do over and over again. 2 of the designs have an office at the front. Could be a bedroom. You could lock that off and rent out the front of your house to someone with a bedroom.
Wow.
Or use it as your office. We're about 1,200 square feet in the basement, which also has a 1-bedroom, big wellness center, big living room. It's 1,200 square feet, so really a lot of room for a 1-bedroom. That has a separate entrance as well off to the side. And then we're doing the garage with an additional dwelling above the garage. Has its own separate access, about 372 square feet at the moment. We're looking at actually taking we have 17 of these homes, 17 of these lots, and we're looking at maybe going back in. I think there's been some traction on this ADU, and Denver just recently passed some legislation to allow for ADU in all zoning. It wasn't allowed, and now it is, and really because of density, inventory, and the idea of multi-generational living or the opportunity to do what you want with the property.
Yeah.
And so we're right ahead. We're right ahead of that curve as we'll see it more and more play out in Denver. That's really all people can do. It's hard to buy land. It's hard to be able to spread out. So we'll see more and more of these ADUs. But what we're thinking of doing is we can only make the ADUs so big, but we're thinking of stealing from this single family house, maybe 8 to 10 feet, adding it back to the garage and getting a comfortable 1-bedroom, maybe even 2-bedroom, smaller 2-bedroom above the garage.
Cool. That's awesome.
Is the garage detached?
The garage is detached, 2-car garage.
2-car garage.
Great.
That's awesome.
I have another question. So with one building, 1 unit's in the front and 1 in the back. So if somebody purchases a building, it's still considered 1 unit or 2-unit building. It couldn't be considered a commercial multifamily if you break it up.
And on the lending side,
It has to be 5.
I mean, we could go back and do another change to title and combine the legal descriptions.
Okay, that's
and
what I was
make it into one legal description, which would help if someone's buying the whole.
Right.
The whole thing.
That's what I was wondering, because I know a lot of people with that.
Yeah.
That may, it would take a different loan, all that kind of stuff. So I just didn't know if it could play both ways.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. And then do you want to highlight just price point as far as the city park ones, as far as where you're at basically with those as well?
Sure. Typically we do spec. We've just been doing spec homes. So buy the land, build it, have a great design team, pick the selections. We've been doing this for a few years now, so we know what works, what people like, don't like. So we'll make sure and get in. Really, when I walk into a house, and my wife helps me a lot with this, is we walk in as if we're going to live there. How do you want the door to swing? Where do you want to entertain? Where do you want to sit? How are you going to watch TV? Light switches, all this, the living practicality of living. We really take a moment. It's our QC moment to just stop and make sure that it's functional, that it's going to work. And on each of these single families, basically, I forgot the question you asked me.
Yeah, just as far as pricing, pricing with you
Sounds
doing,
good.
with you carrying the money, or if they carry the
Right.
money.
So basically, we've been doing spec up until this time, and if I've purchased the land, and if I end up just speccing out the house, we'll make all the selections, we'll do all that. We're probably going to hit the market at 1.8. What we have recently started exploring and we're open to is to let an end buyer that gets this, that understands the idea of buying a primary residence and turning it into a rental opportunity, income opportunity, is to let them get their own financing. So buy the land from me, we'll build it, and now you're into it with your financing probably closer to 1.5. And so I'll spec some out and go to the market at 1.8, and then we're not making numbers up. These are numbers based on comps, because that's all you have. I can't talk about the comps from 2 years ago, which were great. We've got to talk about what's selling now. The hard part up until recently has been there weren't many homes with ADUs. So it's how do you value the ADU? And so now we're starting. We've had actually in the neighborhood we've had one sell. That's about 1,000 square feet less as far as the square footage. I think they're only 2,600 square feet, where we're 3,700 square feet. So we're starting to see it turn around, but that's the range that we would be in. And I don't know, it just seems like a really good opportunity if someone could figure out how to get their own construction to perm financing, which Greg
We can help you with that.
would be able to help.
We know a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that look like with these properties? So it's a single family home with multiple different entrances and ability to rent. Does that change their ability to qualify?
No, because the initial financing is going to be based on purchasing the land.
Okay.
It's going to be what's called a construction to permanent financing loan.
Okay.
So we're going to buy the land, we're going to get capital to finish the building of the property. And then once that's completed, then we just do a refinance basically into normal financing
Okay.
at that point.
But if they let me spec it and wait for me to spec it out, and they're going to buy a final finished home, now you could start using.
Yeah,
That
now we
changes
can
the
do
equation.
conventional financing, so
And
there's
look at
there's those
income.
opportunities. And
Right.
Keith, you were saying about a 12-month build process.
Right.
Right?
For the single family.
For the
Yeah.
single
Right.
family
Yeah.
down at City Park, and so those are some of the opportunities that are available to the right buyer that understands that opportunity and location, and we can answer all those questions in regards to the financing side for somebody who is interested in something like that, and walk them through that and walk that way. And then Spencer, you got
Well, I was going to say, and you said total square footage on those single family was about 3,700, right? So 1.5, if you were to do a 1.5 deal for 3,700 square feet in Denver, in that part of Denver, a brand new house, that's a deal.
It is.
1.5 for 3,700 square feet in Denver is, first of all, extremely rare to come by right now on the resale market.
Especially brand new.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, not to mention brand spanking new. No one's lived in it ever. Detached garage with ADU above, right? So this is a diamond in the rough. And going back to the finance side of it, when we're talking all that, and then location and all that kind of stuff, your appreciation is going to look phenomenal.
Right.
Which then you should go and buy some of the duplexes that he's built. After that. So it's just a great plan that we have going for you guys. It's one you shouldn't miss out on.
Lane, I'm going to shoot something your way to the realtors over in this L shape.
Yep.
Tell us about what you guys think is happening in this market. And so by the time, if you purchase now, so to speak, and have it built, and you're kind of in control of that process there, to the time we get 12 months from now, you're talking about a 1.8 value based on today's market. What do we think speculatively a market could look like a year from now? So we're talking, August 2025?
Yeah.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I mean, we've seen rates go just in the last week, right? From like almost 7 to almost 6. So pretty amazing. Then we've got a federal rate cut that could be coming in September, 99% possibility that that's going to happen. So I think, you could see rates in the 5s here really soon, which is going to instigate a lot of activity in the market. And I think prices will go up, not just marginally, but go up in a bigger way because of all the pent up demand of people waiting and not doing anything for the last 2 years as rates have been higher than they were the previous 10 years. And so I think that a lot of that action is going to start to happen, and pricing could be 10% higher next year, this same time that we're talking. And so I think it's a huge savings. Whenever you're building, you're locking in your pricing when you sign that contract, and that's a great plan, as far as that goes.
Real numbers, 10%. Let's say that's a real number. If we're talking about a 150,000, 1.5 million purchase, excuse me.
Yeah.
I mean, 10% is 150 grand.
With market value of 1.8, right?
Right.
So like
Yeah.
it's like 180 grand.
far-fetched.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And they will, like that area, like I said, I know I keep harping on it, but I do it for a reason. Like those areas are so good. Like those are very highly desirable areas.
Right.
And there's no doubt that they'll appreciate better than most areas in this state. So,
Yeah, and I've seen just in the Denver area, even in the suburbs, I've done some new builds where they get under contract before they break ground, and then by the time they sign with like a 3 or 4% down payment, by the time that property is actually going to close, they've got 20% equity. So, right, you're lining this up, and they're doing about an 8 to 10 month build cycle, and you're at a 12 month with a bigger property. So there's a great opportunity there to ride the appreciation while it's under contract and working. So, no, I think you got a great opportunity there.
and for those that are on the investment side of it, when you lock in at that price and you have appreciation right off the bat, you take the next opportunity to cash that out and put that in something different. And so you just kind of build that cycle to that 10-year plan, right?
Yeah.
To get moving, get some more properties under your belt.
Totally. Well, and we have to talk about the most exciting part of this is the different types of use for this property.
Sure.
Right. So you could, we kind of talked through licensing rules in Denver. If you own or occupy, then you can, after 6 months, you can apply for an Airbnb license and to be able to rent short-term rentals. Is that correct?
Right.
And so that's one way, right? If you live in one of the units, you can then license it out. You can even do you want to explain how you can sublease it to and do
Sure. It one of the interesting facts, I guess, that have really made this such an interesting opportunity is 2023. We had 37 million visitors come through Denver. We're the gateway to the Rockies. The recent Biden administration recently just named Denver as one of the 31 tech hubs of the United States. We're ranked number 12.
Wow.
50% of people 25 or older in Denver all have bachelor degrees or higher. And so we're seeing this turnover of people that are coming to Denver. And when you move somewhere, you don't just throw a dart at a map and say, okay, I'm moving here. No, you go to Google, right? You jump in, what's the average salary? What do the jobs look like? What do I buy bread and eggs for? What do I pay rent? What do I buy housing for? I mean, you look at that, you can get those answers.
Yeah.
And the people that are coming here want to come here for a reason. And I've said it before, we're the gateway to the Rockies. I mean, if you've been in Denver, you know what I'm talking about. And we get all 4 seasons here. You can experience all 4 seasons. Before you know it, you're in the playground of the mountains.
Yeah.
And so there's opportunity not only for long term, which I think makes sense just in itself. So if we're talking specifically about the single families, you could live in the main house and rent out the basement and the ADU long term. So you could do that. You could live in the basement, rent out the main house long term, and the ADU long term. You could live in the ADU and rent out top and bottom to 2 different renters. And that scenario kind of plays itself out again if you decide to get a Airbnb license. Denver is very strict about giving out operating licenses for Airbnb, and rightfully so. You know, we saw a big push of corporate companies snatching up properties and turning them into Airbnb because of the money. I mean, you rent something for $2,000 or you get $4,000 in Airbnb. Guess what I'm doing? I'm doing the Airbnb model. Well, Denver said no more. And you've got to be an owner occupant. And so with that in mind, we designed these to have that ability to be an owner occupant. If you live in any one of those three spaces, you can apply for an Airbnb license. And basically that then opens up the door to this idea of generational wealth.
Yeah.
If you could sacrifice and live in any one of the smaller parts of the unit, I mean, go on Airbnb and look. If you want to rent a 4 or 5 bedroom home and you're coming to an event in Denver, you're going to pay $400 to $1,200 a night
Right.
in that vicinity there, around that City Park RiNo area.
Definitely. And do you lose your license if you, let's say you live there for 6 months and then you start renting out the other 2 units and then you move out and rent out all 3 as an Airbnb?
Right. You can't.
So you have to live in one.
Owner occupant and
To Airbnb.
and you have to, renew it every year.
Gotcha.
Good thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Good try. I have to ask. Gotta ask.
Hold us living over there.
Right. Yeah. Promise.
But one
Okay.
of the strategies that works is to put a surrogate, someone that you can lease the basement or the ADU to.
Like your college student.
Yeah, a college student, a son,
You
daughter.
can send your little kids over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might kick one out of the house just to make this happen.
And they get the license in their name, and now they're basically managing it, for you.
Yeah, and I think that opens up a different opportunity, especially with the DU properties, as folks who are maybe sending their kids to DU for their college degree. Well, you can give the dorms or other areas, you can rent from them, or you could buy this property and let them manage it.
Right.
Get them great business experience on top of it. They're already there, and they're living in a high-end place with great renters that they'll be able to control. And then you're going to take that appreciation and be able to do that.
Right.
But the other factor is, after a year of owning that property, you're going to get in-state tuition.
That's
So-
a great point.
So that's a wonderful thing that you can do there.
I
So
would've
that'll
loved
save
to-
you a lot of
I would
money.
have loved to lived in one of those in college.
Yeah.
I was like in a cinder block prison cell for college.
Yeah. So it's a whole new opportunity for someone, especially in the DU area, but in the city park area. The more you sacrifice as an owner to try and go and do, and the more work you put in, the more dividends you're going to pay on the back end of it. So,
Right.
and you're looking at numbers. If you do the short term rentals and stuff like that, we're paying the property off in like 11 years.
Yeah.
So to have a $2 million property paid off in 11 years,
Yeah.
that's
It's life-changing.
Yeah. So to be
really is.
35 and own $2 million worth of real estate, debt free,
Right.
with income generating after that, that's a huge thing.
Right.
So
And I don't think people realize it's not just DU that we have in Denver. We have DU,
Yeah.
we have CU Denver campus,
Right.
we have Metro State University, right?
Yep.
We've got, there's a couple smaller schools.
Regis.
Yep, Regis, close by. So yes, it's right across the street from DU, but when we're talking about students, Denver's full of them.
Right.
And that's just one option, obviously. For all you parents that want to put your kid in a nice place, go buy one of these. Doesn't matter if they're going to DU or not. You've got local access to all
point.
these schools.
Yeah.
So
But also with that, I think with the Airbnb option, so say somebody buys it as an investment and puts the college student in there so they can Airbnb it. And if I remember correctly, Denver had some good sporting events last year, right?
past couple of years,
Yeah.
we've had a good run.
Finally
Yeah.
there, you could get
Barring the
some
Rockies.
good money.
at the college level, they were.
Championship City? Championship City? Is that what?
I think we were hockey town for a while. Hockey town for a while because
People
we
won't
had
come
2
in for that.
championships.
You
DU.
can make
Yeah.
months worth
Right.
of rent.
Yeah.
And it's the market does react to that. It's funny,
Yeah.
but like when we win championships in our city, like boom,
Yeah, especially with the
2015 was one of the
Broncos.
best years
Yeah.
ever
Oh my gosh.
with the Broncos.
Right.
This is Broncos country still, but I think we haven't talked about midterm rentals. So last thing before we break, but like the short term, the long term is great, but then there's this midterm rentals with furnish finders and traveling nurses and traveling workers that just need a space that's completely furnished for 30 to 90 days basically,
Right.
and then they switch out. And for that type of thing, you don't need a license, correct? So, and all 3 units could be occupied with that method, basically.
Right. Yep.
So that's a pretty
a
cool
whole other
option.
avenue,
Yeah.
yeah.
And those are paying 2 to 3 times what average rents are for long term.
And they're typically pretty good people to have renting the place.
Sure.
They're
Yeah.
typically
Right.
good renters.
Right.
Yeah,
And
They're out of
team,
they're
yeah.
Exactly.
taking care of themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's just another solid avenue of being able to create income. One thing I didn't mention and that I wanted to mention is what we're doing moving forward. Phase 2 of DU, all the city park single families will be LEED certified, LEED Platinum. So that's our LEED Gold. We're right there. Basically, LEED Platinum is next to 0% energy. So it's we're building greener. We're building sustainable homes that are going to affect the pocketbook on the utility bill, which has really been going up over the last couple of years.
Wow. So lower cost energy.
Lower cost of energy. It's solar ready. It's, we hire insulation. We source all of our material within 100 miles.
Cool.
Or closer to get all the materials to build or recycle when we can recycle.
Nice.
So we're really paying attention to what we're doing when we're building.
Yeah, but Keith, the HOAs have to be enormous on these. What's the HOA cost?
There are no HOAs in either scenario. Everything's permitted.
What are you guys waiting for? Oh my gosh. Well, it's too good.
So party wall agreements, is that how?
Just a party wall agreement
Cool.
between where they're sharing, the building space there, the wall really, because it's front and back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
That's a big point that you brought up because HOA takes away buying power,
it does.
right? So,
And when you're looking at some of the comps in the area, they have the HOA that you do have to, you put that back in, and it's not cheap. It's not $100 a month. It's $400 or $500 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Denver's
Or
HOAs are out of
900, 1,000
Or
in Denver.
900,
Yeah.
Yes.
You get that guy down at the gate at the bottom, and you're 1,200,
Your elevator
1,500.
man.
Yeah, your elevator. So
The average price or the average age of homes in the city park area is like from the 40s, right?
Right.
So you're dealing with 80 to 90-year-old homes in comparison. So you're already going to be far more energy efficient with just newer building materials. Newspaper wasn't a really good insulator, right? So
all your neighbors jealous.
yeah, exactly. So your cost of living compared to buying like a 1940s home is going to be a lot cheaper already,
Right.
and they're still selling for 1.5 to $2 million just in that local area, and you're going to have a brand new build. So
Right.
And who wants to deal with galvanized plumbing anymore, right?
not me.
Galvanized steel.
Turns orange when it comes out.
Yeah, that's right. Got to let it run for a little bit.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'll take some of that and some aluminum wiring any day.
Yeah. Detail the whole house.
So awesome. I think you can see like this is a great opportunity. Any closing thoughts, guys, before we shut this down?
We were just talking about the eighth wonder of the world. Greg, you want to share what that is?
compound interest. Yeah, compound interest.
Either you're paying it or you're earning it.
That's right.
Some moron probably said that, right? Who initially said that?
I don't know, some moron.
Some guy named Einstein?
Einstein.
Just invented.
He was a pretty smart guy.
Well,
Yeah.
the eighth wonder of the world is, compound interest. In real estate, it does wonders, right? Because you're leveraging money you don't necessarily have in pocket, right? So immediately, let's talk about your city park properties, for example. Immediately, you're compounding at 1.5 million, 1.8 million, right? Do the math on that. If you just ride that out at 3%, 5% a year, and see what happens when that compounds over a 10-year period. That's the beauty of it.
It is.
Right? And we're adding so many different other revenues to it, from a rental perspective, a cash flow perspective. We didn't talk much about all the tax deduction perspective that comes with owning these type of properties. All that is money.
Right.
Right. And the other part of it is you get a good home. It's a new build. It's a brand new build. Location, which Spencer's been, just hitting the hammer on for us, is that location here is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity. All the other stuff is good opportunity, but the opportunity here is location.
It is. And I think that, like, new builds tend to appreciate at a much higher rate, especially in the first few years, because you locked in your pricing when you sign the contract, and because that's the most desirable floor plan that everybody wants. Right. Everybody wants open.
Right,
they want that open floor plan, and you can't find it in 1940s or 1920s. There's character and there's charm in those homes, but it's just not as functional as far as the way you live in those homes. So I think that's the biggest thing that we hear from buyers all the time, which is a huge benefit to buying one of these.
And I would say, just have a conversation. Call these guys. Call Spencer. Call Landon. Call
It
Brian.
costs $0 to talk to your professionals.
Absolutely, and just have a conversation and get the numbers. And like Keith said, that this is more of a mindset than it is anything else. Like if you can develop the mindset of what's being talked about here, you'll feel safe. You'll feel safe in what you're doing and how you're going about it. And you'll be surrounded by professionals that are going to help you. We'll get you all the answers that you need to get. And really try to pick up this mindset we're teaching here, because the mindset is what you need in order to understand this and what's going on here. So
definitely. If someone wanted to bank on that appreciation over the first couple of years, could they do like a long-term flip on these, like buy it, hold it for a year, and then sell it after a year?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think even, again, you have concept, proof of concept, and validation.
Yep.
Hey, here's the concept. I'm proving it. I'm actually renting it out. I'm living in the garage, or I'm living above the garage, or I'm living in the basement.
Yep.
Create some stability there.
Yeah.
And just like anything else, you have the paper trail to show what you could earn potentially from renting these places out.
Because that's where my mind goes. Initially, it's like, okay, I could go through Greg, right? Get the lending, get it for 1.5, 1.8 value basically of doing it that way with comps to support that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, after a year or two, I could easily see that place being worth 2.1,
Sure.
2.2.
Easy.
Take it and do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different like strategies and plans that you could take into effect here, whether it be long-term, midterm, short-term flip, delayed flip.
Right.
There's a lot of ways you can do it and make some money off of these. So we appreciate you, Keith. Thanks for what you're doing in the market. Yeah, absolutely. And Greg, thanks so much for being here with us.
Yeah,
and
thank you for having me.
sharing insight, on the lending side and how this is possible. And so we're excited about these. If you have interest, if you're maybe considering moving to Denver, or you're just, living here in Denver, kind of like we talked about, and someone who wants to invest in real estate and get ahead, or young professional that wants to live somewhere, but also have the flexibility and opportunity that this rental aspect of these properties brings, definitely give us a call, and we'll make sure that you can get through and tour these properties that are available to see, or look at some of the other ones that are coming, if you're a few months out, and we can talk through that. We get a lot of people telling us, I just want to wait till spring to buy. Well, you could actually lock in some pricing and then make your move in the springtime and get ahead of things. So appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you next time. So if you have enjoyed what you're listening to and you'd like to hear more, make sure to press that subscribe button so that you can not miss out on any more episodes that are coming up. And also check out all of our contact information is below. You can see us at the dreamsmithteam.com to look up more information about our team and our history and all of the members of our team, and see contact information that you can reach us if you have any real estate needs.
See you next time.